The way I'd like to think of myself is something called a greater fool. People want to get into services related startups. The advantage of services related startups is the fact that you can enter very fast, but you also can get kicked out of from customers also very fast.
Please welcome our keynote speaker on stage, Rohan Jayaweera.
Making money out of something, you almost get locked in with that. You know it's probably not good for you in the long term, but because you're making money in it, you kind of get locked in it. It's very hard for you to focus on something else. So the three of us were there. For the first 6 months, we actually couldn't get any business. People need to take a step back and really understand, I want the outcome, but what is the foundation I need for that? I can't build a 30-story building if my foundation is not strong enough.
One final question.
Let's go.
How do you want to be remembered in Sri Lanka's technology and entrepreneurship story?
Honestly, I don't want to be remembered. These are questions I never thought of.
Welcome back to a very special episode of TechTalk360, and we are running this podcast for 2 years in Sri Lanka and gaining viewers all around, and we have a very special guest with us today. Welcome, Rohan.
Thank you for having me. And by the way, congratulations on your 2-year achievement. That's a massive achievement. Not many people make it beyond 6 months,
Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
I think I think you remember I
Yes.
texted you on LinkedIn some
Yes.
while back. It's really we are really happy to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, man.
So-
I'm sorry we couldn't make it happen earlier. So yeah,
The best time comes, that saying.
absolutely. There you go.
So let's start off.
Yep, let's go for it.
Who is Rohan?
Wow. You want the formal answer or you want the informal answer?
A mix of both?
Mix of. So I'll give you, I think the way I'd like to think of myself is something called a greater fool. A lot of people don't know what greater fool means. A greater fool is someone who has a perfect blend of ego and illusion to believe that he can succeed where others have failed. It's an economic term, by the way, as well. It came from this TV series and I picked it up. I said that kind of who I want to be. If you want the formal answer, 25-year experience, having worked for multinational companies, the blah, blah, blah. It's all on my LinkedIn. You can just check it out there. So that's how I'd like to describe myself.
So just since Rohan gave the answer, like the formal answer, just to dig deep a bit, Rohan is the Principal Analytics Delivery at OCTAVE and also the co-founder of Antyra Solutions.
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. So Rohan, if we could just, I'll just start off with a bit of intro on Antyra Solutions.
Yeah.
What does, actually, how was the journey in Antyra?
So I think, just to take a couple of steps back, it's very important to connect the dots, right? Like I was with Google for a while. And then, when you're coming out of Google, it feels like no company is good enough to work after that, right? So I was very blessed that 2.5 years with Google. At that time, there were a lot of people who kept calling me and asking me, can you help me with the digital work? And these are 10 years ago. Some of the stuff that you take it for granted were novelty ideas. And I think that time I was looking around whom I should partner with, and I met this incredible genius of a man, Niranka, extraordinarily gifted, and he was also stuck in something. I was moving out, and just kind of came together. And then, we came together and said, why don't we start a business that services these customers? There were a couple of people who are still on the ground, but I felt there was a huge space. That's how it kind of came about.
So moving from there into OCTAVE, how has the journey been, that transformation that we speak?
So I consider myself as, one is the greater fool, other one is catching waves, right? I mean, I always believe that, you can be a subject matter expert really, really well and be successful in certain markets, or you can be a generalist in catching consistently evolving markets, right? So in about 2016-17, I saw that this AI becoming a big deal, right? And I looked around where I can study, and I realized that, there was a $16 Udemy course that I could follow called Bootcamp for something, data science or something. I did that and I fell in love with it, and I said, this is really going to be the big wave. And I want to go to a place where that is purely practice, because that's the way you learn, by doing it, right? Not by PPTs and all of the other stuff. Then OCTAVE was there, and I was very fortunate enough to start, and then got the chance to join, and then that's how we journey. I've been with them for 5 years now.
So Rohan, for the people who are discovering you for the first time, if you could tell on how that mind shape shift would be from like a company like Antyra to Octave? How would you tell that?
Yeah, I think it's quite a dramatic shift, right? Like first of all, Antyra is two guys or three guys coming together, trying to build a business from a bedroom in, somewhere, and then it's completely a startup journey, right? And then we worked together for a purpose of building something people could admire, and then we figured out a lot of things along the way. Whereas my journey in Octave is, you're joining a very well established corporate process, structure, bureaucracy, so getting adjusted to that. And I think what you need to realize is that your talent is, I always say this as a joke and people laugh at me, I say some things in life is to be accepted, not to be understood, right? Some things you just accept and say this is the way it is, and then you accept it, you pivot or you move around it, and then try to make the most out of it. So it's a very different mindset. I think having that flexibility in your mind to adapt to environments, I think is one of the most powerful things. So I think it's really important to have that.
If I link a question to that, in
Yeah.
terms of how you could, for example, if you take Antyra solutions, in terms of linking it to something, how you could, how would you scale it, and in terms of scalability,
Right.
what's your point of view on that?
Yeah, so I think when you think about startups around the world, so there are a lot of people want to get into services related startups. The advantage of services related startups is the fact that you can enter very fast, but you also can get kicked out of from customers also very fast, because services are consumed then and there. People don't have a binding hold of it unless you have been very deep into their organization. Whereas if you have a product startup, it's very hard to get in, but once you get in, there's a bit of a buy-in, there's a bit of a lock-in, and also scalability is that much easier because you don't have to customize your offering to each and every customer. Services, you do need to do that. So one of the things, if I can go back and reflect, is that I would definitely go by a product development, product-related startups, than a service-related startup. But it's always a start thing, like you're building the plane while you're flying it, right? You need services to come in and get the customers to pay you, and hopefully it will help you to build a product. So that's, I think, is the trade-off. Answering a question specifically about Antyra and things like that, I think those are the things we learned. There's a very interesting thing where when you start making money out of something, you almost get locked in with that. It's probably not good for you in the long term, but because you're making money in it, you kind of get locked in it. It's very hard for you to focus on something else, which that might be better for you. And I think we all sometimes become guilty or victims of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to shoot in a sentence and a para that our research team has found out.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
Antyra has become a major force in Sri Lanka's digital ecosystem,
Yep.
driving over rupees 15 billion in
Yep.
online transactions and achieving 500% revenue growth for clients.
Yes.
It's quoted.
Yes.
Okay. Can you walk us on how this journey began and how you were able to scale it? Again, linking to the earlier question.
Okay.
And how you communicated this message successfully that shifted the consumer behavior. Was the data right?
Data is absolutely right. We would not quote something unless we have the science and the data to back it up. What a lot of people probably don't know about Antyra is that in the formidable years of wow.lk, before wow.lk was bought over by the RAS, we played a significant role in running their e-commerce business.
Oh, okay.
So there are a number of SKUs, and at Prime, before 2018 Easter attacks, I think we almost had about 100 plus hotels running e-commerce right in our portfolio. So we had a huge kind of a portfolio at that time. We were always known. I think one of the things I'm very proud of, even to this date, we are very well known for our design. Probably the best designs we have, and that's thanks to Niranka. So I think the numbers are accurate, right? The follow-up question you had asked me to just repeat that question.
Yeah. So we just want to know how you went through this journey.
So it's basically like
And
when we saw the market.
How you shifted the consumer mindset and the behavior.
Yeah. So I think I'll tell you the actual journey. It's never a flowery, romantic story. I mean, I always tell Niranka that once we make it, we'll go to Greece. We'll tell a story like how both of us were in Greece and doing some meditation retreat and figured out how all of this happened, but that's not the case, right? So the three of us were there. For the first 6 months, we actually couldn't get any business. I mean, we were thinking, is this really going to work out for us? Very fortunately, there was a customer who actually had a UK client, And we said, give us 1 week, and if we give you a better design, give us the business. So within 1 week, we all put in effort, and we had a great designer who's now in Singapore at the moment. And we put a design together, and that was our first customer per se.
It's after 6 months.
After 6 months, you almost like you have that edge where is this the right thing? You have this doubt about whether this is going to work out for you, right? And then we started off, and I think after you get the first customer, it becomes like, I'll give you a context. Like, I was head of Google for a while, and when we opened doors, customers are like, oh, you are head of Google, so we'll want to hear what you have to say, but you don't have any customers, so we don't want to be the first customer of you. So it's always like this problem in a startup, right? Like, because you don't have any customers, they don't want to be the first to be your customers. So you are in this really catch-22 situation. So we had to break that, and we broke that with this customer. And after that, we always quoted that as the customer, and then it kind of gave us a lot of entry points and successes after that. It was nothing romantic. It was just a lot of grinding it out, hard work until late hours and putting a lot of effort. And there were a bunch of people who really pulled that weight for us as a team. And I think that's why Antyra, after 10 years, is where it is today.
Absolutely. You and I both know that scaling in Sri Lanka is quite a difficult thing with the instabilities that we have faced and with all the economic issues. What's your point of view on that, and how we could step out and have scaling and scalability in like our comfort zone?
People are going to hate me for this answer, but I think we have to look at patterns in Sri Lanka for us to understand what is scalable or not. And I think if you really look at scalability, there are few businesses that have scaled and achieved success. The first ones are who provides very essential services like FMCG or something like a raw material or some kind of business like that, right? The second one is banking and financials. I mean, not going to touch on that. The third one are very interesting is people who build capacity to serve foreign customers. May it be the apparel sector, may it be the software, may it be any other business. The guys who really at the very top are the people who have a client base outside on. After that, it's super hard to assume who is there, who's really those successful stories. I mean, I don't know whether you could tell me, Rasa, right? I am struggling to find out, maybe there's outlier, there's one guy or two guys, but there's nobody really have made it big in Sri Lanka without that, without these three elements, I think. So I think Sri Lanka being a third world country, smaller economy, per capita GDP being so low, you can't replicate a lot of the ideas that you have in abroad to here be a successful. The way that you want to do that is, if it's possible for me to access an international market and do it here. That's probably the way that I think formula that will work.
Is there any company who has done it in Sri Lanka? Do you have any examples?
I don't. Okay. That's why I'm also saying, like, I mean, even Antyra, for example, we struggle here, but if we had the same clientele abroad, I mean, we would be very significantly different. Any company in Sri Lanka, may it be any space for that matter, their success is heavily dependent on foreign clientele or foreign markets and things like that. Or unless you're at the very bottom, like you are catering to a very specific need in the country. It could be FMCG, it could be some other matter.
When it comes to digital strategy, how do you define brand success? Is it growth metrics, audience loyalty, or the story behind the numbers?
I think it depends on which industry you're in. Like if you look at a FMCG brand, like if I'm selling soap, my growth metric, I mean, you can never do whatever you are doing on digital marketing and expect client to remember you. That's not the way people work, unless you have a huge shock effect or some very unique platform that you're selling it on. And I think this has been tried, like if you take certain ice creams like, I forget Haagen-Dazs, I think they tried sensuality as a way to sell ice cream, right? I mean, then there are tire companies again who sell that. So these are what I call different platforms at which we are creating a shock factor in the minds of the people to remember your brand. Because otherwise, would you remember soap? Would you remember ice cream? Would you remember tire when you're going to sleep? If you are, you have some other problems to think about, fix. So that's where the problems are, right? I mean, so digital strategy cannot be measured on hard metrics on products and services like that. But if you're on e-commerce, if you're in hotels, if you're on ticketing, there are hard metrics you can go, how many sales you brought in, because a customer can complete the transaction from awareness all the way to thank you very much for your purchase. And then you have other ones like B2B. B2B, like if you're selling very expensive apartments, your strategy cannot be on hard metrics, because no matter what you say, I'm not going to buy an apartment or a BYD or a car or like that for 25, 30, 100 million just because I just saw a really nice, a Facebook post or Instagram post. It doesn't work like that. So I think we need to take a step back and measure what matters. And I always say that you have to break this into macro and micro goals, right? Macro goals are what you call the final end. That is what makes business successful. Micro goals is how many customers actually submitted a lead form, how many customers actually interacted with me. That connects you back to the macro goal. So I think you have to, depending on the industry, you have to set measurements accordingly.
There's this phrase currently going on that says people buy from people. What's your take on
people, I mean, yesterday I was in a very interesting workshop, not yesterday, the day before. And they said people buy good feelings and people buy sizzle, right? Ultimately, that's what it is. People buy good feelings and people buy sizzle. Sizzle is like this status or brand or whatever. That's what the foundation of how brands are built. Good feelings are like, okay, if I buy this, I will feel good about myself. And I think that's what, excuse me, I think a lot of brands are trying to achieve. Answering your question, I think it's very true. But not so much in FMCG. I think, when I say FMCG, I'm talking about soap and toothpaste and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very low involvement. Luckily for us, we don't have a lot of options in those products as well. Like if you go to Singapore, you'll have 25 flavors of toothpaste. Here, you probably have 3.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
So the next question is
Yep.
quite kind of a large one, but I would like to break it down soon.
Let's go.
So, over the past few decades in Sri Lanka, we have seen a tremendous growth in IT and digital innovation, which is slowly positioning itself as a potential global tech hub.
Okay.
But progress hasn't been linear because of the pandemic and the economic hassles that we have had and political turmoil and much more.
Right.
But in 2021, again, a research and a data run by our team, we have noted that from over 25,000 undergraduates in Sri Lanka produces only around 2,000 engineers annually, which at the time we can agree was a concerning figure. But a recent study by Peradeniya University and WHO estimates 4,600 medical professionals have left Sri Lanka.
Okay.
And academic, similar to academic graduates, there's in some disciplines it ranges up to 50%, and some is as high as 80 to 90% of graduates migrate after graduation.
Right.
The reasons, a mix of low wages, declining quality of life, limited career advancement, systemic instability. So the real question is, if digitalization is the future and brain drain is the present, how do we bridge this divide and ensure Sri Lanka is ready for what comes next?
Okay, so I'll first correct you. I don't agree that Sri Lanka had so much of tech and digital innovation in Sri Lanka. I don't think that happened. That's what we aspire to become, but it didn't happen. And there are various reasons for that. And I think maybe that's a separate conversation. Answering a question about brain drain. I mean, what's happening is that it's an unfortunate situation for a country like ours. I think we are killing the third middle party, right? I mean, that's what happens when you have these kind of situations. Any economy, in my point of view, is that the middle class have to thrive, has to expand, has to invest, so that the entire society moves forward. Like the small and medium-sized businesses, individuals have to come in. When the brain drain happens, and what you are really happening is that people going, as you said, for better perks, better opportunities, and you can't blame them. It's because they don't feel the right opportunities are there for me. I am not valued. I'm not getting paid enough for whatever I'm worth in the country. Rightly or wrongly, they have the right to explore that elsewhere. And what is happening today is that I think economically we are having a lot of divide that is taking place, and that middle party that used to innovate, that used to put the society together, start on businesses, drive new ideas, challenge the bigger brands and all that, I think that is little by little disappearing, and I think that's why you don't particularly see innovation really taking place in the country per se. And also I think because people are so, we don't really have easily accessible capital to invest on stuff, right? I mean, it's changed a little bit, but it's not really there. people can come and talk about, oh, we have this, but if you're really on the ground trying to do this, it's not easy at all. I think with all of this cumulatively, what is happening is that people are looking for stability versus innovation, risk-free environments. And I think that's where the country is going, and people want to get a comfortable paycheck that helps them. Otherwise, I'll go abroad. And I think that's not a good place for Sri Lanka to really drive digital or anything forward. And I think hopefully that will change. That's my opinion.
A quick follow-up from there is that many of these are the youngsters, the youths and the graduates who are soon graduating from uni, and you know, what is that advice that you have to tell to them, you know?
So I am a Sri Lankan graduate as well, right? So whenever I pay taxes, I feel little less bad about it, because I feel like, okay, you know, until the third tertiary education, I got my education for it. So I'm very proud of to be able to say that. I think you have to assess what you want to do. You also have to understand life isn't about next 10 years or next 20 years, right? And I think a lot of people who are migrating, when they meet me, I say, go learn, make your money, come back and invest, come back and set up something, come back and do something for this country in your last 10, 15 years at least. Because anyway, you probably have to come back because either your parents are too sick, and you know, things like that also happen, right, in life. So for undergraduate, my message is, I mean, if you are not in the right fields, which are really, you know, there are few places in Sri Lanka that is really taking off. If you're not in any of those places, I can't fault them for going abroad. And I will not ask them to stay back.
Agreed.
People may not like my answer, but that's what I will.
So when we talk about digital transformation, it's easy to come up with, you know, hundreds processes in Sri Lanka, and you know, things that could be easily digitized, as they say.
Yeah.
From public services to everyday transportation, there's massive potential for change. I know, you know, I came from Australia like 3 months ago, and it's like they are like way ahead of how their transportation is done and their digitization. But this is not to compare with them, but you know, there's the massive potential for change.
Yeah.
So there's this example that's been striking. As of 2025, Sri Lanka ranks 3rd globally in terms of vehicle unaffordability, only behind Singapore and Maldives. In Singapore, the reasons are high car prices are, you know, to maintain like their reasons.
And small country.
Yeah, exactly. And also Maldives geographical limits. So, but in Sri Lanka, like we pay sky high taxes and poor urban planning and, you know, minimal transport innovations. And owning a vehicle is a luxury.
100%.
So the question is, in a nation that's mobility is so expensive, and you know, vehicles are also expensive, why has like things like public transportation seen so little innovation or digitalization?
So first of all, I don't think we should not compare. I think we have the right and we should compare. Because if I go to Singapore, if I go to Australia, if I go to Switzerland, if I go to, and I was like always, it's the same thing, right? We ask ourselves, why couldn't our country be there? Like I went to India for so many years back to back. What India 1990s looked like versus today, I mean, miles apart, right? They have the...
In terms of digitalization?
No, digitalization, forget digitalization, even transportation systems, right? Everything, like even they have the railway systems, all of that, different things coming into play. So ask yourself, why is it not happening? Couple of things. One is, we have to create environment for people to be able to come in, right? And this is where, and I'm a person who always stayed away from political sides or political statements and all that, but I think in Sri Lanka, we don't have the infrastructure that is, the governments are responsible for infrastructure, and that infrastructure has to be set up by them, or they have to get out of the way for the competition and players to come in and build business models around it. Both are not happening today. And today, we have so many other problems that the people are spending money and time on. Nobody cares about why are we wasting 45 minutes for a journey that should only take 10 minutes, right? Because these are very serious problems for a company when they want to improve productivity, improve efficiency of the people. But when the country is working on other challenges, these are always pushed aside and nobody's fighting for it, right? I think for me, these are more like policy making related challenges at a government level. As I always say, either you make the policies and get out of the way for people to come and build it, or you take the ownership and build it, and hand it over to people to run it in a way that makes what is needed to happen. I don't think both are happening at the moment.
I have come across that there can be a change in transportation and in terms of linking it with digitalization, or it should happen very soon because it's been like we have been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
What is that a few changes if you could do in the next 6 months or so? What would that be for,
In terms of transportation or in terms of general?
In simple terms, like in public transportation, how would that be in your point of view?
So I think one of the biggest thing we need to do is I'll explain the science behind it and I'll tell you what my answer is. The science behind it is that are we trying to make something not working 10% more efficient, or are we going to reimagine what we are going to do?
Okay.
Right? So it's called first principle thinking, right? I don't think with the current system of train, railway, bus systems we have, no matter what we do, we probably will make 10%, 20% better. It won't make it 3x better, 5x better. And if you really want to do it, we have to think about what does, like underground systems would look like. What does flyovers would have to be looked at. We have to change the entire landscape. By trying to get better with what we have, we are never going to make that transformative change. We will fight long fights just for 5% improvement, where at the end of the day we will see what have we done. It's not even worth it. So I think that's where policy level, I think we need to look at some serious changes. There are far more innovative solutions available for transportation without trying to make our current extremely complex system with so many stakeholders trying to make it work with 5%, 10%, 20% better. So I don't believe in that. I think for me it's really about, if you ask me what I would do, I will put a proper underground system.
Absolutely.
Provided the soil and everything is, otherwise I'll do a flyover.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have said before, again quoting, so using 6 months old data to make decisions today is silly.
6 months data?
Using 6 months old data to make decisions today is silly. What systems and practices can organizations adapt to become more real-time, adaptive and data smart?
Okay, I think a lot of people, 99% of the organizations I met, they think the answer, they plaster AI everywhere. It's like the new cool word. Everything has to be, I just saw a news also today that someone has said AI hotel. I was like,
yesterday,
I was like, what does that mean? What does it mean to say AI hotel? I mean, anyway, it's a great marketing ploy probably. So I think people need to understand that most of the organizations I meet, they talk about the end result, but their foundations are not there. When I say foundation, it's really about having the data strategy in place. If you don't have your data strategy in place, there's nothing you can do on top of that. And AI fundamental is always about building layer of intelligence inside prescriptive analytics, descriptive analytics, whatever it is, on top of a layer of extremely solid data foundation, which I don't think most of the organizations have, and most of the organizations haven't even started to build. And this process of building solid data strategy is about multiple years of work. It doesn't happen quickly. So I feel people need to take a step back and really understand, I want the outcome, but what is the foundation I need for that? I can't build a 30-story building if my foundation is not strong enough. True. It's the same philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, quick 5 questions.
Let's go.
You're ready, right?
I'm ready, man. Let's do it.
Favorite tech innovation?
Favorite tech innovation? Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know, man. I like quantum computing right now. I don't know whether it's innovation, because I think it's really going to transform the world in the next 10 years in ways that we cannot believe.
Okay.
So I think it's ready yet, but that's what it is. It's not an innovation, but I think it's still work in progress, but quantum computing.
One word to describe your management philosophy?
I'm easygoing. Like you should ask my people, like I'm easygoing manager. One word, right?
Yeah.
Easygoing. Easygoing.
Your most satisfying professional achievement to date?
Yet to happen.
What's your most used application or platform on your mobile phone?
Oh, wow. I think it's YouTube, because I watch bucket loads of videos because to stay up to date.
One belief that has guided your career decisions?
Stay hungry.
What's the biggest misconception about digital transformation in Sri Lanka?
uh, there's nothing called digital transformation. Either you transform your business or that's it. I mean, there's nothing. People think digital is this silver bullet that will solve your problems. No, it's business transformation with whole buckets of change management and processes involved.
First thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Wow, that's a tough one. What do I do? I mean, I just basically wake up. I try not to look at the monitor. Mobile.
Screen.
I don't look at the monitor. That's the first thing I try. Don't look at the mobile. That's what I try to do.
Your go-to local dish during long working days?
Go to Sri Lankan dish.
Yeah.
I really like a good kottu for sure.
If you weren't in technology, what field would attract you?
Oh, these are questions I never thought of actually. If I was not in tech, I don't know, man. Seriously, I have never thought about that. I cannot imagine myself without not being in tech. So I'm sorry.
One change you would make to democratize technology access globally?
Globally, I think I think education. I will just make education that much more easier accessible, and this thing, because that's the great democratization.
Is that the same answer for Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka, I think a little bit more. I think here, if you want to take technology, a little bit more investment as well, democratization of investment.
Okay, that's it.
Done. I'm done.
So Rohan, just a few more questions.
Love it. Let's go.
Where do you see Sri Lanka's position in the global digital economy by 2035?
I don't think anything much would change.
Really?
Yeah. I think we'll be same. And there will be organizations like, companies that I really admire, like WSO2 and Dr. Sanjeeva, and they will always go places. But as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, because what people have a very misguided notion how long it really takes to get stuff done, right? You said 2035, right? Yeah. That's technically 10 years. But if for us to have that impact, we have to be putting the foundations and the infrastructure in place now. And do you see that? I don't think you see that. I don't think I see that. So there will be, every once in a way, great minds who come, either who studied abroad or who are here, who build some incredible businesses, who will take it. We'll continue like that. I don't think Sri Lanka really is setting ourselves in digital like that. And we'll get more money, don't get me wrong. We'll have more tech companies. Today there's a lot of people, including I think you, working from Sri Lanka for foreign companies. So it's generating amazing amount of foreign exchange. That will continue and that will happen. But for me, that's not innovation. Innovation is, let's build a brand like OpenAI. Let's build a brand like Apple. Let's build a brand like Google. That's for me is what we need. And that's why I always say, even tech industry in Sri Lanka, other than WSO2, other than, who else? They haven't built a global, powerful, Virtuous probably. I don't think we have built brands that people admire and look up to.
That's true. So I think if I miss AI on this podcast, it's going to be something missing. I don't think
most abused word these days. Yeah.
So talking about AI, we feel like AI is being plugged everywhere that is necessary and unnecessary as well.
Of course.
What's your take on AI being used in every way?
I welcome it. I think it should be the way. I'm a strong advocate that the market will decide what's best and what's not best for them. There's nothing wrong with people trying to fit that into everything. Some of them will succeed, some of them will not. I think, and I say this everywhere where people talk to me about it, I think printing press did something really powerful that transformed the world, and that was it democratized access to knowledge. Today we have a whole bunch of books. We read because of printing press was invented. Suddenly, your knowledge, my knowledge, all of us have access to knowledge. And you and I were talking about books before this podcast, right? All of that happened because of that. What AI is expected to do is to really to democratize human ability. Earlier, I used to have a, visual or a graphic designer. In time to come, I don't need a graphic designer. I don't need a copywriter. I probably don't need even an audio editor, video editor. This human ability will get democratized out. And you wouldn't need radiologists to scan MRI. So that is already happening. So I think AI is really going to be such a great game changer. And if you fuel that with quantum computing and fusion energy. I mean, I love it. I mean, I think it's fascinating. I mean, we might all die, but hey, it's okay.
So, your 3 most important pieces of advice for young Sri Lankans looking to start tech ventures.
Ooh, listen, I did my little stint with entrepreneurship, right? I don't think everybody is meant to be entrepreneurs. That's the first advice. Just because you think you can doesn't mean you should. And it's a tough journey. So my advice is, if you don't have an idea that can be solved by you, and there's not enough people in the world having that same issue, you probably don't have an idea you can solve as a tech solution or whatever it could be. So it has to solve for enough people, and it has to be affordable as well. And if you can't solve it like that, you don't have an idea. So 3 advices. Number 1, there's no harm in taking time, learning, understanding a business, and then becoming entrepreneur. You don't have to feel that immediately after my university I have to be a tech entrepreneur. So take your time. Second one, learn finances, learn money. Especially in countries like ours, everything runs on P&L. There's nothing the way that people think about innovation. Like if you take WhatsApp, it was evaluated by like 55 employees, 19 billion evaluation, 0 revenue. Our Sri Lankan people, if you go and talk about a product like that, they will ask you to get out of the room. So learn finances. It's really important. If you are in Sri Lanka, learning finances. So the third one I would say is that, get out of the norms of what people talk about entrepreneurship. It's a very dark place. Prepare your mind, resilience, courage in order for you to really go in that journey.
If I just plug in a quick question there, is that many people try to vibe code basically through Lovable and other platforms, and they try to ship the idea or push the idea into like a bigger stage. How can we link that up with being an entrepreneur, bringing that idea into life? Because when all the people start doing it and
So I think it's always about, you have to ask yourself what is that secret sauce, like magic sauce that nobody else has, right? Like for example, like Coca-Cola, the magic sauce is the syrup. It's not the bottle, it's not the refrigerator, it's not the brand. But if you don't have a syrup that nobody else knows and only you know, and very few people can copy, you probably don't have anything that is worthwhile pursuing. Because the moment you start and the moment you become successful, large companies can pivot, other companies probably can come and do it much faster, better as well, then you will actually lose your edge. So I think it's really important to ask yourself, what is that one thing that I can do better than everybody else, and is there a market for it? Can I scale it?
So how can, if I just move on to last 2 questions.
Go for it, Macha.
How can established Sri Lankan companies embrace a digital transformation without losing their core identity?
Establishes Sri Lankan corporates embrace digital transformation without losing their identity. Okay, so first of all, I strongly doubt whether we have corporates who wants to embrace digital transformation, because for the simple reason, I think they make enough money without it. I mean, all of this thing I always say people embrace technology when they're pressed for time. Like you want this 5G, 4G connections, WhatsApp, Zoom calls and all that. When you feel that my time is not enough, now I have to achieve certain things in a very finite space of time. If I don't do it, I will lose money. Then you throw technology in it and make things better. We have very easygoing nation who has enough time to waste. So you don't necessarily need to worry about so much of technology. So number 1. Number 2 is that, transformation doesn't change your identity. I think if you do adopt transformation, I think it will put your identity on steroids. It will make you so much better. I think that's the way I will look at it. I don't think your identity and transformation is plugged together.
One final question.
Let's go.
How do you want to be remembered in Sri Lanka's technology and entrepreneurship story?
Honestly, I don't want to be remembered. I'll be honest. I hate even now when people talks to me about my Google days, I personally don't ever believe that I should be remembered by anything. I'd like to think I did my part, pass the baton on. I don't want to be remembered, honestly. I want to be remembered like a great father. I want to be remembered like a great husband, or maybe a great human being. But everything else, I don't think I've done so much to be remembered like that. I want others to do very well. I would like to change that.
One last advice to all our viewers watching.
Yeah. Advice.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I always try to advise things that I try to achieve as well. I will never try to be a hypocrite and say things. So for me, I think I try to stay up to date with what's going on in the world, especially like trying to read about it, learn about it, etc. And then, work hard and hopefully merit will carry you.
Thank you so much, Rohan.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. Nice meeting.
And that's an episode of Tech Talk 360, unveiling one bite at a time.